This will make you laugh. For the last 12 months, a Eurogamer reviewer has apparently been haunted by the 5-star review that he gave to Dragon Age the Veilguard. His words are, "It plagues me." His review called it the best Dragon Age and the best BioWare game he's ever played. 5 out of 5, a perfect score, a masterpiece. 1 year later, he admits he doesn't think it's a 5-star game, doesn't think it's BioWare's best, says it's been haunting him for the last 12 months. Yet the score's still up, still there, still misleading people. But it gets worse. The same week that article dropped, the Grammys announced their best video game soundtrack nominations. Star Wars Outlaws made the list, so did Avatar and Indiana Jones. And guess what didn't? Clair Obscur Expedition 33, one of 2025's highest rated games, arguably Game of the Year for most. 5 million copies sold, number 1 on the Billboard classical chart for 10 weeks. One of the best game soundtracks in a decade. Got nothing, not even a mention. Same week, same industry, same broken machine that decides what you're supposed to play. And if you're still trusting these people, then listen up. Dragon Age the Veilguard scored an 84 critic score on Metacritic. User score of 3.9. Says it all. We all know the reason why by now without even mentioning this thing. The game went through multiple reboots over 11 years, nearly became a live service game, had to be rescued by a Mass Effect team, sent in to salvage what was left. The development was a mess, the writing was even worse somehow, the game showed it. But sure, 5 stars, BioWare's best game ever according to this guy. Now 12 months later he admits, "I don't think it's a 5-star game," says that when asked if he'd score it differently now, he said yes I would. Probably land on 4 stars now. Probably 4 stars, maybe, but he's not sure. What he is sure about is it's haunted him, plagues him, been thinking about it for 12 months. Poor bloke, 12 months of torment. Still won't change the score though, because apparently Eurogamer's policy is reviews are a snapshot in time. You can't alter them, not something they do. And of course they don't, right? It's a convenient policy when your snapshot's bordering on a lie. They could add an editor's note, a correction, something that says they got this wrong. But no, the 5-star review sits there still recommending the game, still calling it BioWare's best, still misleading people who stumble across it looking for guidance. So why did he give it 5 stars in the first place? Because the system's designed to produce exactly this result. Publishers fly critics to preview events months before release, control environments, curated slices of the game. These journalists then leave and say that it's worth the wait, and of course they do, they have to. Then the review codes drop, massive RPGs, days to hit the embargo date, race to publish first because being first means traffic and traffic means money. You play the game, you write it, you score it, you move on as quickly as possible. And if the game's got problems that only show up after a dozen hours or in the real world conditions that we actually experience, they miss them, or they don't have time to think about them, or they just ignore them. Either way, the embargo doesn't wait. The system produced a 5-star review for a game that's now haunting the bloke that wrote it. The system is working exactly as it's intended. He didn't take a bribe, he just did exactly what the machine's designed to make him do, and now he's plagued by it. Just not plagued enough to actually fix it. But if you think that's just another example of games media being terrible at their jobs, it gets worse. In the same week, the Grammys announced their 2026 video game soundtrack nominations. Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora made the list, so did Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, so did Star Wars Outlaws. Clair Obscur Expedition 33, you know, the greatest soundtrack in the last 20 years, got nothing, not even a mention. When was the last time you heard someone mention Avatar's soundtrack, or Indiana Jones's, or Star Wars Outlaws? Go on any social media right now and try to find anyone talking about those soundtracks. They literally don't exist in the conversation whatsoever. Now search Clair Obscur and you'll find thousands of people calling it one of the best game soundtracks in years. It hit number 1 on the Billboard classical chart. It stayed there for 10 weeks. The game sold 5 million copies, had no massive marketing budget, just a small French studio that made something people actually loved. It's one of 2025's highest rated games, arguably one of the best RPGs of this millennium, a genuine phenomenon. And the Grammys ignored it completely. Meanwhile, massive AAA games that literally nobody is talking about get the nominations. Even the people who were nominated know it's a robbery. Austin Wintory, the composer nominated for his work on Sword of the Sea, said he was sad at the lack of Expedition 33 and said he'd happily trade places. A nominee openly saying that the game that got snubbed deserved it more than he did. So why did it happen? It happened for the same reason that Eurogamer gave Veilguard 5 stars. Visibility over value. Sandfall Interactive is a small studio. No lobbying power, no industry clout, no ad spend at the Grammy voting events. Meanwhile, EA, Ubisoft, Disney, they've got the big budgets, the sponsors, the connections. Awards aren't about what's best, they're about who's loudest. The most visible, who pays, who you know, who you owe. Both of these examples are part of the same broken system. So keep this in mind, because if you're still reading day one reviews from these places, you're being lied to. But most of us worked that out years ago. The trust is gone now and it's not coming back, which makes what's happening with indie games even more impressive. When a game like Clair Obscur sells 5 million copies, it wasn't just handed that success. There were no fancy events, no awards considerations, no media access machines churning out hype. It took the hard route. When Silksong launched and hit almost 600,000 concurrent players on Steam, 587,000 to be exact, breaking records, crashing storefronts, it did that based on one thing: trust in Team Cherry. 7 years of waiting, no over-the-top marketing campaigns, no lies, just a studio that delivered the first time and earned the belief and the trust that they'd do it again. That's what makes these successes so insane. They did it without the machine, completely separate of it. They weren't just handed a free pass, just quality and honesty. That's all that matters, and the contrast couldn't be clearer. But here's the uncomfortable bit: the system hasn't changed, and it likely never will, because that would mean admitting they've been misleading us for decades. Eurogamer's 5-star review is still up, and that won't change. The Grammys still gave nominations to games nobody's talking about. Nothing's different on their end. What's different is us. We've stopped believing them, and slowly that's starting to matter more than an 8 out of 10 IGN review score ever did. Eurogamer's reviewer backtracking is something, I suppose. At least he's honest about getting it wrong. That's more than most will ever admit. But the score is still up, the review's still misleading people, and Eurogamer's policy means it will stay that way forever. So what's that honesty really worth? Precisely zero. The system still rewards being a good boy. The awards still reward their industry friends. Critics still chase access over honesty. The Grammys still chase sponsors. We can't fix that, but we can stop listening to it. Stop clicking their day one reviews. Stop reading their AI generated tip guides. Stop watching award ceremonies that nominate Star Wars Outlaws and ignore the games people actually loved. They don't deserve your attention, they don't represent us, they've spent years proving they don't care. Support the developers who are honest with you, the ones who deliver what they promise, the independent voices who don't need access or awards to tell you the truth. People like me, hit subscribe. It's up to us to decide what's real and what's just smoke and mirrors designed to keep share prices as high as possible. Anyway, thanks so much for watching, appreciate you. If you enjoyed the video, drop a like, a comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. It really does help me out so much. Thanks again, I'll see you in the next one.